know if you can see, but what we're looking for is mullet activity. Like you see out there, that's exactly what we're looking for. When I'm on a flat, that's the first thing I look for is big mullet milling around. If you can find that, typically the fish are around them, in them, or on the outside of them. And Chad's demonstrating that right now.
No fish here.
No fish here. This is a bad little snook. Chad and I decided to come inshore for a little bit, just to change things up. And my first cast, which was the last one, I caught a redfish, and now I think I'm on a trout. Nope, snook. Sorry, I meant snook. There's fish busting out in front of us. It's been crazy. What we're doing is we're fishing in kind of an open flat, and the tide is still negative. So we came to this location, and there's fish busting everywhere. Look at that, everywhere. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But what they're doing is they're out on this open flat. They're in the mullet schools. There's mullet everywhere, and so we came back here, set up, threw out a couple of chummers, and there's fish busting everywhere. Come on, Chad, you haven't hooked up yet?
Blow it up. There you go. There you go. Blow it up on him, you just didn't get him.
He's running to the front of the boat pretty good. Now, they seem to like the bait fish hooked in the belly a little bit better than they do the nose hook. So we'll throw it all out there and we'll just see how long it actually takes. For my inshore, I'm using a Crowder rod. I think it's a 7.6 if I remember correctly. Yeah, 7.6 medium with a quantum bokeh with 8-pound braided line and 20-pound leader like I use out at the channel. And I can cast it a country mile. We can catch everything. Oh, I just lost it. You hit it that fast. But I like to scale down my gear a little bit, go to a little bit lighter rod so it's not as heavy when I'm holding it out here, and enjoy the fight a little bit more. What I like to do is if I'm not hooking in the belly, I hook it in the cartilage right before the eyes, just like that. So it gives it a more natural presentation. But there's times to where we have found that they won't eat the bait like that, hook like that. Sometimes they'll only eat it when it's hooked in the belly, and sometimes they will only eat it when it's hooked in the tail. So it's just, again, same premise as out there. Each one of us tries something different until we find out what's working. And then when we find out what's working, that's how we hook the baits. And sometimes, if you hook them in the cartilage like that, the only time you'll get a hit is when you actually start reeling it in very slowly. So if you're reeling in your bait and you know there's fish around, just reel it in really slowly, because a lot of times if you feel that bait fish get really nervous, he's about to get eaten. Chad's already hooked up. We've got fish busting behind the boat. Chad got his redfish. He's got his inshore slam.
Yep.
So now we both have our inshore slam. Easy peasy.
Lamb number 2.
So if you start to see mullet move, like they're moving this way, that's what we did, is we adjusted the boat, came this way and came in. So now we're in line with the mullet. Now we probably won't stay in this location too much longer because we want to try to go out and get on the snapper and grouper and see what we can do before this front comes in. But this is a key thing to look for, is mullet on a flat. You can see the bird activity. There's birds in the trees right there. Mullet activity.
Fat boy eating.
Fat boy eating. Fat boy catching a fish.
I gotta put it in. It's not a very good conversation right now, but
Another trout.
I think it's a snook.
Yep.
Trout.
No, it's a snook. Is it? Yeah, it's a snook.
He's just got a mouthful like I do.
All right. As I just was talking about, we made a move. Literally just moved about 40 feet, but 40 to 50 feet, but we moved in, and that's what we got. So again, boat positioning is very, very important, even on the open flats, because the fish are constantly moving with the tides. So you always want to pay attention to what the mullet are doing. Got going on is we've been chumming. The tide is completely dead. We've been chumming and we're getting the fish off the bottom, and that's what we're catching. That and grouper. What we're doing is just taking pieces of cut bait, putting them on like a 4/0 hook. We've got a little bit of weight just above it, so it'll get down a little bit faster. But as I showed you on the screen, those fish are actually coming up into the water column. Go figure. Uh-oh. 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 Get him, Chad. Oh, yeah. There's number one. Need to measure that one. Oh God, no.
Nope.
26 and a half. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Good Lord.
Come on, Chad.
That wasn't even fair.
Ooh, look at this snapper. That's a good snapper. Fat snapper. See that chum is going straight down because that tide is not moving at all. We wanted to start inshore, but by the time we got bait and everything, I knew the tide was going to be slacking off, so we decided to come out here. We're just on the back end of the minor feeding time, or we're actually through the minor feeding time. But these fish are so far up in the water column that we've got them so fired up.
That funner nuts.
Yeah, it is.
It's like somebody went nuts with 3 crayons.
God. Oh. Gonna be a lot bigger now. Were you caught him on a live bait?
Live bait.
Really?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Still wrapped?
Yeah. That must be mine.
Jesus.
Luckily, he wasn't a big fish. Still not a bad snapper. Piece of cut bait with a little bit of lead on top because we're sitting in 45 feet of water. We want to make sure that it's getting to the bottom. That's not good. Now he's fighting a grouper. Big snapper. Woo, look at that one. Now what's funny is that Chad had mentioned to me that we haven't been having really good luck on live bait today. So he said, well, last time I had a hit on live bait, I didn't hook it on the top like we typically do. He says I hooked it on the bottom. So I went ahead and tried it, and the first bait down, I caught like a 20-inch snapper. So changing it up like that is key. If something's not working, try something different until you find out what's working. Like we realized the cut bait was doing very well, and that's what we've caught almost all of our fish on except for the last 2.
Except for a couple, yeah.
Yeah, so cut bait has been predominant today. So just change it up. That's the key to this. Is don't get frustrated if you're not getting bit. Change it up. If you don't feel comfortable in the spot that you're fishing.
No, that's not the key. The key is to fish more, catch more.
That whole thing is getting out of hand. All right, guys, we're doing another catch, clean, and cook. And tonight we are doing blackened grouper. I'm not a huge fan of blackened things, but I'm always willing to try my wife's cooking, especially my wife's cooking. So we're going to go into it. We're gonna put the link to the recipe down below. And if anybody has any questions, just let us know.
Hey guys, glad to be back on the air with you. Tonight we're going to be making one of my favorites, not Todd's, mine, blackened grouper, and I'm going to be cooking it outside on the grill so I don't smoke up the house. Normally I would make up my own blackening season, but tonight I unfortunately thought I had all the ingredients, but I did not. But I did find this handy dandy little seasoning that I bought recently at the local meat market that has the same type of things I would use in there. I'm going to post my recipe below, but hopefully this is not going to be too spicy or too salty. So we're going to give it a try. So here we go. All right, we're going to put this really big fat grouper fillet. Yes, this is one fillet for both me and Todd. This is in 1 stick of melted unsalted butter. I use unsalted because the blackening seasoning that I chose to use tonight, which as I told you before is on my own, is extremely salty. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. I want the whole pan to be covered so I can just get an even coat. So I'm just flipping it over, getting it really, really, really buttery because that's what's going to make the seasoning adhere. It's also going to give it the fat to help not stick to the cast iron skillet that I have preheating on the grill. From here, we're going to go to the rub. I'm just kind of pressing it down so it adheres to the rub. Gonna get my grill up. So I'm pressing this down a little bit. As you can see, my cast iron's on the grill. It's nice and screaming hot, which is what I want it. When I flip this over, I'm just gonna make sure all the seasoning's rubbed in really gently. Might need a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm gonna add some olive oil to this really hot skillet. Somebody's celebrating New Year's a little early in the background. There we go. Crank it up. I want to make sure that it's really smoking hot, so I'm waiting just a minute to make sure the oil is the temperature that I want it. I see smoke. Gotta adjust just a little, and I'm gonna plop this in. Hope nobody dies tonight. As you can see, this is a really big fillet tonight, but it's gonna be both of us. We're gonna shut the lid and give it about 3 to 4 minutes and come back and check on it again. Okay, it's been about 3.5, maybe 4 minutes. So I'm looking, I think it's ready to flip it over. Be careful, make sure you have on some really, really good oven-proof gloves. I'm just gonna try to flip this really fast and in one piece. This is the hardest part. I kind of get the skillet into it to help out the fish. Boom, there you go. Now we're gonna let it go just a few more minutes, probably 3 more minutes on the other side. All right, it's been another 3 minutes or so. The grouper's kind of falling apart. Just gonna go ahead and turn this off. Avoid any more flame than I have to. You can see it's falling apart. It's really good. We'll let you know in a little bit just how it turns out. Todd likes it or doesn't like it. Granted, I'm not going for beauty tonight. So as a side dish tonight, Todd asked for some of my homemade French fries. And although I've already cut them, I was going to demonstrate how I do that. I just have my handy dandy cutting board. Sorry, there's lemons on here for later. But I take the potato, and this is a lovely Pampered Chef. I'm going to plug you Pampered Chef because I sold them for years. It is a potato French fry cutter. You put the potato in this way. It's going to stand up like this. And you literally just press down and cut the potato. And it comes out in little shoestring potatoes like this. I like to soak them in water for like 10 minutes just to get some of the starches out and to make them taste a little crispier when I'm just going to oven fry them. So come back and see me in a few minutes and they'll be done. So now I have just drained the potatoes in just a colander and dried them off with some paper towel. The drier you can get them, the better. You don't have to be excessive or anything. And I just dried the bowl out and I put them back in the bowl. I'm gonna add just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. That's what I like to use for most of my cooking. some kosher, well, it's not kosher, it's pink Himalayan salt, some fresh ground black pepper, and garlic powder into the bowl, and I'm gonna mix them around, and then I'm gonna spread them onto a sheet pan, and I'm gonna throw them into my little handy dandy toaster oven over there that cooks and doesn't heat my house up.
Well, dinner is finished in my stomach, and it was delicious. Thanks to my wife for doing another cooking segment. Her and I have been kicking around the idea. We just put out a live video talking about it. We're talking about wanting to do more cooking segment videos. Not just fish, but different dishes. And maybe have a playlist on Tampa Bay Fishing Channel on cooking segments. Let us know what you think. We would like to put it out there, just kind of diversify everything. So if you have a suggestion, just let us know. We appreciate you watching. Thank you again for all the support, and we'll see you on the flip side.